Hey everybody, good afternoon. Today on the 15 and 15, we're going to be covering ModeOne and more information about that right now. All right, perfect. So today we're going to be talking about ModeOne and just a little bit about it. So it is a web-based tool, so we can go and collect iPhone or Android devices remotely using ModeOne, which is secured and powered through Amazon Web Services. So great use case is have maybe a potential employee that's leaving, pack up those things that day, and you need to go ahead and collect some text messages or information off the phone. I can remote in, go ahead and collect that information and store it and process it and put it into a review tool like Relativity or kick out some PDFs as well. A few other things as well. Custodians don't need to relinquish their device, so they can just hook it right up to their computer. They can actually use it during the collection process too. So if you've been familiar with that before, custodian usually has to hand over their phone for 4 hours, which is pretty crucial from that standpoint. And so basically, what we're seeing is a lot faster collection times. And we can kick it out to Relativity short message format. Can people hear me? Anybody hear me? Apparently nobody can hear me. You don't mind if you can type in the chat if you cannot hear me? That'd be awesome. Definitely shows unmuted on my side. Unmuted. Audio. Okay, multiple people can hear me. Okay, I'm going to keep on going that people can hear me. And some people said they can. It's private, so you don't have to worry about people logging in and looking for certain things, and you can target certain information off that device. So only text messages, only the photos, not the full device. So you're not getting everything that you have there. And so just a few quick screenshots. We can pulling the active information off the phone. So if you do have other different forensic analysis items, you may want to consider kind of like the standard shipping of the drive or physical acquisition of the device. Some of the pieces that we have as far as software is concerned, a lot of information for iOS, so iPhone devices, from text, WhatsApp, WeChat, Facebook Messenger, browser history data, all those different types of things. Android has a little bit more of a software development lifecycle, but all those are in development as well. So how do you set it up? Well, how it works today, so the custodian installs certain information onto their device. They also need to have iTunes if it's an iPhone. The operator sets up the job on their end. Custodian provides a code or trust settings and encryption settings. The collection kicks off from that standpoint, and it can take anywhere between 30 minutes to a few hours, 2 to 4 hours. Just really depends on a few different things. One, what's the speed of your Wi-Fi, how much data we're collecting. If you have an iPhone today, they can have up to 512 gigabytes of data. It could take quite some time, especially if they're on a, think like an old AOL dial-up modem. That could take a lifetime. But if you have a fast internet where you can upload things quickly, you can go ahead and do that. And then once the information's collected, you have the ability to filter and to export out that data set. So what does that look like from the operator side? Of course, from the operator side, you need ModeOne access. You need some information about the custodian. So their name, the number, the email, and display name is just like a description of what that collection is. And you're basically ready to tee up the collection. PageOne has a bunch of notes and templates to kind of help you, the law firm or the corporation, in kind of handling the communications between PageOne and the law firm, the corporation, and then the law firm, the corporation, and PageOne and the custodian of the device, just to make it easier, quick, and as painless as possible for them. Just realizing that people typically don't want to give up their phones. So next up is what to collect. So you have a list of devices, a list of applications that we can pull from messages to contacts to calls, voicemails. And so we can check any of those boxes that we're looking for. And then we can also provide a date filter. So if we know we're looking for a week or a month or many years, we can go ahead and we can set those parameters up once again, so we're not collecting the full 512 gigabytes that's off the phone. And one thing, we can set the day before the collection. That way nothing would be being collected off the phone currently as it resides. What does the custodian need? Well, it's one of two different things. Depends on if you have an iPhone or an Android. And today was actually released that I believe 51% are Samsung devices, and then followed by Apple. So that information just released today. So from an iPhone standpoint, you need to install the software. It's two things. You need to install the iTunes and the application on your device. Once you go ahead and do that, you need to just make sure you have power for the phone, just to make sure it doesn't die, of course, and the laptop that you're going to hook that up to. You want to make sure you have passcode, obviously, to get into the phone. And then like if you have encryptions, iTunes backups, encryption information, and then of course stable internet. Whereas Android's slightly different. So you actually don't need a computer. You can install the application directly on the phone. Obviously make sure the phone has power or enough power, the passcode and stable internet, and then essentially you can go in and kind of direct it. One of the really cool things about the Android is that it will tell the custodian what it's collecting and like how many messages and those types of things. So a lot of people like that for sure. And then the great thing, they can use their phone kind of while the collection's going. So definitely something that they like from that standpoint. Going to kind of walk you through some of the items that we'll see here. This is from the collection standpoint, so we can just enter in the name that we have here, the phone information, and the email address. Kind of the next screen that we just saw a moment ago is looking at the particular apps that we have and the date filtering options. Note that when you select the iMessages, you get the ability to collect deleted iMessages from iOS 16 or above, so the software that's on the phone. Just a note, that's not going back to the end of time, it's just going back a few weeks. So just a heads up there. And then once we have that option, if we also want to pull particular information off of the phone, we can filter by participants. So if you are only looking for maybe 2 or 3 different conversations on the particular phone, you could enter those last 10-digit phone numbers and filter to that. And then once again, one of the great things, right? You're not pulling all the text messages from, your parents, children, friends, family. You're just kind of targeting those particular text message threads, which a lot of people feel much better about. So after the setup was from there, the next piece is, do you want to start ingesting once the collection's done? So the great thing about this, once the collection's completed, it's going to auto process all the information, and then you can kind of sort and filter from that standpoint. So typically we'd recommend, if you are going to search and kick out RSMF, so relatively short message format, you can go ahead and do that. If you have the PDF versions, a lot of people like to see those bubbles, right? The gray in the blue or the green bubbles if you're an Android user. And so be able to see those, so you can kick out PDFs there as well. And so just kind of keep on moving here. And then the next screen is basically, we can save this and come back to it once we have the custodian on and they have that MCU, which is one of the application pieces installed on their computer. It's going to give them a 6-digit code, and then they're going to enter that 6-digit code. From that standpoint, what the custodian's going to do is they're going to make sure when they plug in the device into their computer, to make sure that they trust the information and trust the computer, and then deal with the encryption on the device. So they can either set that up on the fly, or if they have the password, they can go ahead and set that up, and then they can go ahead and share the phone with the ModeOne application, and the collection will begin. And so just to kind of walk through what that looks like. So as I noted, the 6-digit code is on the custodian screen here. And so they would give that to the operator on that last screen we just saw a moment ago. And so here you're going to see that we have the iPhone. So our friend Iffy has his iPhone. That's my creativity there, just to drop the O in the N. It's an iPhone 11, so it's never been synced. And so you can see we enabled the encryption from that standpoint, set up our encryption, and share the device. And you're going to see that it has started to sync already. So you can see there's a 3-stage process. And so just in a matter of mere minutes, this, of course, this test phone that we have has a few text messages and whatnot on it, so not too much from that standpoint. So you can see that it's moved to stage 2 into stage 3, and so now it says complete. And so what I would tell the custodian to do now, they can close this out. They can uninstall the software on their device if they'd like, and then the operator can kind of continue through the filtering and export options. And so in ModeOne, we have the collection that we have. So here's our iPhone that we just collected. And so we'll see a bunch of information available. So we'll have our device information. It's going to be one of the first things that we see. Going to give us that name, the number, the ID of the serial ID of the phone, how many messages we collected, the size of those messages, the earliest date and the last date and time. So lots of great kind of summary information for that particular phone. You can see we have a number of other information, from voicemails to messages to contacts, what apps are installed on their phone. I definitely like the installed apps because it kind of brings light to, maybe something like a Telegram, where they have like the auto deletion of those messages kind of in play. And so some of these apps may not have information that's stored on the phone. And so there may be another avenue that we want to go and collect that information, whether it be the cloud or maybe that particular application. We can go in and collect that. You can see call logs, and we can also see our text messages. So a lot of folks are going to want to target text messages. So you can see we can click on the thread, we can navigate down the thread, and so you'll see different types of information. If you don't have that Greek seasoning, highly recommended. It's on Amazon, great for a Greek salad. And so lots of different things. And so you can also see on this other device that we have particular information from an Android. And if we wanted to export out those particular messages, we have the ability to export to RSMF, PDF, text, CSV, JSON, lots of file formats. We can break out those RSMF files by day, being preference or some other week, month, or year, and you can filter it, and so you can export that information out. And so the list of installed apps, which I think is pretty crucial from that standpoint too. And then anything you would export out, so you have the ability to go ahead and download kind of like from the interface, or can send you an email about that as well. So that is all we have for today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type that in the chat. I'll go ahead and just kind of run through those things. One of the quick notes, so this, of course, April 15th, May 15th. Hope everybody is really excited. We have Relativity Air for review, so we're going to be covering that. PageOne's happy to be in the limited release version of that, and lots of folks have been really excited seeing it and using it, and I think it's going to be a real game changer for not only PageOne but for the whole industry. So I highly recommend, one, reaching out to us, use the QR code. I'd love to walk you through a demo. We also have a few other kind of fun things associated with it too, to get you kind of in there and testing it out. So definitely join us in May. And then in June, we have our PI Detect, which is also a relativity application as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pop in and just kind of see if we have any questions here. Feel free to type them in if you have any. Perfect. Okay, so first question that I see, iPhones typically have more data than Androids, not necessarily just because of things like compression. So when you're sending an iMessage from an iPhone, you probably receive that and you see the image, and the image is a full image. It's not scaled down, whereas Android, using the MMS technology, will kind of downsize the image. So typically see that text messages, of course, it all depends on who you have on the other end, but 6 to 10 gigs of data for text and those types of items, videos, pictures and whatnot. 6 to 10 gigs is typically a lot. Of course, it could be a lot more, whereas iTunes is going to give the full version of those files, and we expect to see something that's probably more or equal. But once again, when you have the date filter in place too, definitely would recommend using that, because that would help filter down some of the information on the device. I don't see any other questions. Well, perfect. I want to thank everybody for joining, and please see you next month. Thank you.